Hello, welcome to another video from earnped.com. I'm Stevie B, happy to have you all with us today. Let's take some sips to get us started. Guys, we are on planet Cyrene, and if you just landed on Cyrene, you're going to want to do this right away. This is literally the very first step to Cyrene before you do anything else. It is super important, so whatever you do this right away, get it done, get it over with, and then you can move on to something else. So we're going to go to a teleporter, any teleporter, and we're going to pull up our map. I want to be sure you guys can see the map okay. And then down here, see this little island right here. This one right here. This is the Tons Ta'o Outpost teleporter. So that's where we're going to want to go. If you don't have that teleporter, you will have to go there either via Sleipnir or quad or other vehicle to get that teleporter for the first time, but we're going to teleport in. And this is going to be a very important teleporter you're going to want to have moving forward. And then when we teleport here, if I turn to my right and we look at the building, you see that it's got all these terminals that say ARC Faction Missions Mid-Level, ARC Faction Missions Low-Level, ARC Factions Low-Mid-Level. Over here we have ARC Factions High-Level. And then over here we have ARC Factions Daily. So the first thing you're going to want to do before you do anything else on planet Cyrene is you're going to want to come to each of these terminals and you're going to want to get every single mission from all 4 of these main terminals, and then you're going to want to pick up the daily missions from this 5th terminal. Let me explain why. Before we do anything else on Cyrene, we want to be sure we have every single one of those missions, because when you complete those missions, as you complete them, whether it's the regular missions or the dailies, you get these. These are ARC Faction badges. These are incredibly important to your time here on planet Cyrene. Now, the ARC faction is one of the Cyrene factions that we talked about in the previous video when we went over the lore of planet Cyrene. They're the ones that are at war with the Imperium, remember? So these ARC faction badges are incredibly important, and if we hover over the ARC faction badges, we can see that these are account bound, cannot be traded or sold, meaning that they cannot be looted in PvP lootable areas, they can't be looted from you in PvP lootable space, and they cannot be traded or sold. Now, I've talked to the development team and I've asked them straight up, is there a plan at any point in the future to make these ARC faction badges tradable? And the answer is no. The reason I ask that is because of how vitally important these ARC faction badges are. So, let me explain a couple of things real quick. First of all, when we're talking about the missions themselves, when we're looking at these terminals, when you're looking at these 4 main terminals that say low, mid, and high level, these are one-time missions. They can only be completed once, which is why I already have a couple of badges. But then the dailies can be done over and over and over. So if I pull up my mission log, let me pull my mission log where you guys can see it. See all of it that says ARC Faction? For those of you who don't know how to pull up mission log, before I even do that, go to your hotkeys, the little 3 squares in the top left-hand corner, hit your keyboard, and it pulls up your keyboard map. This is the mission log icon. So in the top right, where it's got all those buttons that are always there that you never use, you can open your action library and you can find mission log and you can hotkey it to your keyboard like I have. So this is the old school thing that we used to use for all of our missions pre-codex. Most of you are probably familiar with it because if it's anything other than codex, you still have to use your mission log. But if we pull up our mission log, we can see I've already gone to all those terminals and I've already got all the missions that are possible. All these ones that say ARC Faction Mission. Forget where it says ARC Challenge. That's the old system pre-codex. But where it says ARC Faction Stage 1 Armored Whiskerfish. This is a one-time mission that I can do. I kill 11 Armored Whiskerfish. I get ARC Faction Badge. This one right here, Bile Jellyworm, ARC Faction Mission. I kill 70 Bile Jellyworms. Then I get ARC Faction badges. And also in this list, we'll notice like this one, this is an ARC Faction mission, but this one's a daily. I killed Old Penelion, and I get ARC Faction badges. But these ones are dailies. So this is where it's important. These first 4 terminals, you want to grab all those missions up front because they're one-time missions. If you go through all of those one-time missions, then you will have roughly 100 ARC faction badges. The rest of your ARC faction badges you're going to have to get from doing these daily missions. There's hunting missions, crafting missions, even some mining missions. The biggest thing is you want to get to 200 ARC faction badges as quickly as you can, because once you do, you have access to special ARC faction vendors located inside of the hub, but also it will open up new ARC faction dailies, which will give you access to even more ARC faction daily missions. Now, why would we want to do a thing to just do more of a thing? Because this thing is very, very, very important. When we're talking about the new upgradable armor plates, or the new upgradable armor, the very, very valuable armor and armor plates here on planet Cyrene, in addition to having the materials and the rare loot that is needed to upgrade those items, you also have to have a certain amount of ARC faction badges. You cannot do the upgrade process unless you have those badges. And remember, they're account bound. You cannot buy them or sell them to other players. You can't trade them off. Now, you can use them in the special ARC faction vendors in the hub. And there are some missions in game. I can think of one in particular that will allow you to actually turn in ARC faction badges for a valuable item that can then turn around and be sold. And that item has value strictly because of the fact that it is so hard to get the number of badges required to be able to get the item in the first place. We will cover that in a separate video when we get to the mission chain and the item where you can do that. But the biggest reason you want these ARC faction badges is because by collecting these badges, it gives you access to the upgrade capabilities in the armor and armor plate upgrade system. The other reason you want access to this is there are other missions in-game on planet Cyrene that in order to complete those missions, at some point in the mission chain, you have to do something, and in order to do it, it requires you to have a certain number of ARC faction badges. So specifically, the magic number on that mission chain that I'm referring to is 900. So you can get all the way through the rest of the mission chain, no problem, but then whenever you get to that step in the mission chain, which is about halfway through, if you don't have 900 ARC faction badges, you can't continue. So these are very, very important, but the other thing is, it's the first step in being able to stack our missions, and being able to stack your missions on Cyrene, but on all planets, but specifically on planets like Cyrene, Arcadia, Next Island, any planet partner planet. Stacking missions is crucial to success because you're getting more rewards with the same amount of effort. You're not having to go out and do each step individually. You can do the thing one time and you can be successful in getting all the rewards. Notice that somebody just ran up to the daily vendor or to the daily mission terminal to get their daily missions. So in my case, I've already got all of the ARC faction missions that are one-time missions. I just haven't done very many of them because I've spent very, very little time on planet Cyrene. I also have the daily missions active. So what we're going to do in future videos is one of my goals is I'm going to try and bang out as many of those one-time missions as I possibly can. And then as I do the daily missions, I want to go over the daily missions with you guys in detail because those are the ones you're going to be doing over and over and over again. When we do the one-time missions, if I'm just doing this one-time armored whiskerfish, okay, you know what? I get the one-time mission, I go out, I just kill 11 armored whiskerfish. It's not that big of a deal. I'm never going to do it again, right? But when it comes to the dailies, we're going to have to do these dailies over and over and over because remember, we want to get to 200 as fast as we can to unlock additional dailies, but then we want to keep going to 500, 900, 1,000, 2,000, 2,500 ARC faction badges. So these dailies are going to be incredibly, incredibly important. And that means that where, going out to hunt 11 whiskerfish one time might not be a big deal. Knowing these dailies in depth is a super big deal. And in addition to knowing these dailies, when it comes to the crafting dailies, there is actually a very specific order you want to do your crafting dailies in. I actually had to make myself a flow chart to show me how all the blueprints and materials intercombined for the daily crafting missions. So I want you guys to know what the ARC faction badges are, some of the very valuable uses for them, to know that not only can they not be traded or sold now, but there's no plans to make them tradable in the future. However, if you get enough, there are things you can do to get items that do then become tradable. I want you guys to know all that up front because of how incredibly valuable these ARC faction badges are to your play here on Planet Cyrene. Now, in the link below, or in the description below, I'm going to put a link to 2 pages on cyrenedream.org. One is cyrenedream.org/daily missions. The other is cyrenedream.org/one-time missions. And you will be able to go through there and see all the missions that you can do for ARC faction badges. You'll be able to see the one-times, and then you'll be able to see the dailies. And like I said, when it comes to the dailies, we will get to the dailies each in their own video or in their own series of videos. And we will cover each of those in depth because they're so important and because you're going to be doing them so often. Now, it is important to note that in addition to this, in addition to what we're looking at right here on the screen with these mission terminals, there are actually 2 additional ways that I know of to get ARC faction badges. One is a repeatable mission where you can use something called a summoning totem to summon a creature and kill it. That will give you 1 ARC faction badge, and it has a 1-hour cooldown. The problem is these summoning totems are very rare and very expensive. They're a rare drop. The other mission that I'm aware of that is not based on the mission terminals we're looking at is a turn-in mission where every 21 hours, it's a daily, quote-unquote daily, it's 21 hours, you can turn in 500 sweat to get an ARC faction badge, a single ARC faction badge. Now, I know 1 ARC faction badge a day doesn't seem like a lot, but remember, when you need 2,500 of these things or more, 1 is very important. So I'm going to leave here. I'm going to head back up to the Skylabs teleporter where we very first started, because that's everything you really need to know about ARC faction badges right now. Like I said, we will cover the rest more depth later on. Right now, I want you guys to know that when you land on Cyrene, the very first thing you need to do is use your nearest teleporter, probably Skylabs. And if you have that teleporter for the outpost over here at Tan's Ta'o Outpost Teleporter, where they have these ARC mission terminals, that's where you need to go immediately. Stage 1, day 1, moment 1, before you do anything else on Cyrene. Guys, if you don't have that teleporter yet, the waypoint for it is longitude 133276, latitude 74884. It's on this little bitty island right here. You can't miss it. If you don't yet have it, get in your sleep, get in your quad, and once you land on Skylabs and get the Skylabs teleporter right here, fly directly there, grab the teleporter, grab all your ARC faction missions, because everything else we do on Cyrene is pretty much going to be built on top of that. So guys, I will leave it there for today. Sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Head over to earnped.com, because when you earn, we earn. By far the best way you guys can help to support us. Simply use the links on earnped.com to go to hideout.tv. Hideout will add us as a redemption option for your hideout points. Guys, please do as the banner says at the bottom of the screen. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. That way you're notified of all the newest content that we make. That way you guys stay up to date with the game and the best opportunities in game and can play smarter, not harder. Also, be sure and hit that like button to try and combat the trolls and the haters that are out there just waiting for us to post a video. It means a great deal to us, but more importantly, I want you guys to know you are having an impact on the game by hitting those 3 buttons. We're getting emails every single week from people saying that they play other PC games, other MMOs, other real cash economy games, and when they're on YouTube, our videos started popping up. That's because you hit those 3 buttons for us. That's because you subscribe and like the videos. That puts us on the right side of the YouTube algorithm. They give us additional reach, put us in front of additional people. That's the first time a lot of these people have ever heard of Entropia. They start watching the videos. They start learning how to play smarter, not harder. Next thing you know, they're downloading the game. They're starting their journey at Camp Icarus, and then they're moving on to North Swamp Camp. So they are sending us emails telling you guys, please tell your supporters the impact they're having. Guys, please keep it up. Sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Take care, Stevies.